Have you created any work and submit? One not for means not for. Submit it. Submit it and have a look. Right now we are working on MySQL database. Future we are going to work on MongoDB database. MySQL needs SQL to perform cutoff functions. MongoDB doesn't need any SQL, just functions with parameters. For inserting a separate function, retrieving separate function, updating separate function, deleting separate function, what you wanted to update, what you wanted to delete, what you wanted to retrieve, everything you have to pass as a parameters. MongoDB. Here we are using Apache as an application server. There something called MongoDB community server that we are using. Here PHP myadmin for interacting, for seeing the database. Here we have something called Compass. We'll be working on future sessions. Any submission? And after your submission, we have to do so many things. Creating the database and everything. Then so now first of all, I'm coming to this software. Name of the database is silent. I Prakash underscore Fido. In my system, host is different. In my system, one database has been created. Now I wanted to import it. I'm given info. It's fine. Which one? This one. So database part is ready. Then installation of packages are also ready. Excel, npm start. Our will start. Okay, fine. Getting all the data. Okay, fine. Now I want it to run the client also. So I'm going to another folder. CD. Now I have to say actually npm install. So what I will do, I already have node modules. Just to save time, I have created it. This is also ready, and I will say so client modules are ready, server modules are ready, database created, and names and everything has changed accordingly. To run properly, and we will see the issue. What is it? I will use bootstrap. Now tell me what is not working. Error. So whenever you are sending the request, it is saying error. Whenever you are sending the request, on click of any button or what? Which component is that? Errors. Okay. On click of which button? Submit data from server. This one. Where is that function enter? Submit data param. Server. Here you are sending to submit data param API endpoint. Where is it here? Saying that API endpoint is not there. Here you have given submit data through param. Here you are sending submit data. Solve. You can change it in multiple places. Either you can change it here. Now it's better to change this. Copy this. Follow. Submit data through. 404 not 4 means it's not available. That's what this means. Anyway, we have corrected this issue, known issue. Let us see if there are any other. Now, where do I need to click it? ERN students worldwide employees. Page 3. Nice man. Really excellent. Yeah? See, naturally, if you add a bootstrap, that professional look will come. Now, what I have to do? I have to select the country, share, department, accounting, gender, age, let us see. This is the doubt you should ask at the starting of the course. But anyway, see, it's not like he has created the mistake I have solved it. Any programmer cannot identify their own simple silly mistakes. But other developer can identify it. Got my point? Now, for example, Dheeraj has created it. He'll put all his mind and work on it. In that, some mistakes even he can't recognize himself. In that case, you try for 1-2 hours, and after that you give it to other developer. No need to be an expert developer. For other developer, everything is new. With common sense, you will see it. The problems can be solved easily. Overall, good. And today we are going to work on express middleware. What? Express middleware. There are multiple middlewares we are working. Middleware in 3-tier architecture, that is different. Express middleware, that is different. Redux middleware, that is different. Redux middleware, that is different. 3-tier architecture middleware is different. Express middleware is different. Redux middleware is different. We already know this is the 3-tier architecture middleware is nothing but Node.js. Now we are going to work on the express middleware. What is this express middleware? Any guesses? Express middleware referring to a function actually. Referring to a function. Then why is it called as middleware? Express middleware means middleware is called as a function. No, not just express. Why it is called as middleware? From client we will be sending the request. From server we will be getting the response. So no. If you go in detail, our express receives the request and sends the response. So Now you wanted to call a function after receiving the request before sending the response is called as middleware. Express is designed in such a way that receives the request from the client, sends the response to the client. Sir, but after receiving the request and before sending the response, you wanted to call a function that is called middleware, express middleware. Right? Now let us try this. Now what I will do, first of all, let me stop this. Data integration. Now if you see our server here, server.js, we have created multiple API endpoints. Let us see what are those. Countries list, departments list, get data 3, get data through parent 4, vendors list 5, get user 6, users from training 7. Around 7 API endpoints we have created. 7 API endpoints. Sometimes we are sending the request, we are sending the response. Now, express middleware means what? Call the function after receiving the request before sending the. Now, just to give you an example, whenever the I'm just running the application first. Say npm server is running, client npm, so client is also running, automatically database is running. You don't need this mongoose. I don't know why it came by mistakenly. I have written it. You know, this MySQL is a package which we use to connect to MySQL database. Mongoose is a package which we use to connect to MongoDB. But right now we are not using MongoDB, so no need of this. Okay. Now, countries list, department list, vendor list, everything is coming. Now, if I click on get data, we are sending the request, getting the response. You might have got it. See, okay. If I click on this, some response we are getting. Of course, we are not getting any filtered response. Request and response is working. Okay. Now, what I will do for your understanding, let us try with this get data. We are calling get data function on click of the get data. So get data is the API endpoint we are calling on click of the button. Now what I do, I create a function. A normal function I will create it, but I will convert that into a middleware. Then I can call after receiving the request before sending the response. Now see here, for your understanding, I am creating it here. And say let mf1, that means middleware function 1. can be any name. I'm creating the function like this. I'm creating the function like this. Middleware function must follow certain procedure. What is that? Here we have getting request and response, right? Even middleware function also will get request and response as the parameter, and it will get the third parameter extra called next. Next. Then here I am saying console log. I'll say inside middleware function 1. Then I'll write next line. I'll tell you what is this. Now this is the middleware function I have created. Now I wanted to call it when after receiving the request before sending the response of get data. So now I'll say I can call like this. M-F-1. Now whenever I click on the button from client, this get data will be called. That means Express will receive the request and normally we send the response. But in between, this function will be called. In between, this function will be called. Let us see. Now I am clicking on get data. Probably I have to remove this. Now let us see. We got the response. Now are able to see here inside middleware function. When this is calling, after receiving the request, before sending the response. Likewise, you can create multiple middleware functions also. Now, if you feel MF1 is a very short name, I'll say middleware function 1. Like that, I'm giving. Any name you can give. One. But these three must be there. These three must be there. Request, response, next. Now, what I will do, I can create multiple middleware functions. Four middleware functions I have created. So I am just renaming it to the now I have created four middleware functions. Now all those four I can call it here. Middleware func 1, comma, middleware func 2, comma, middleware func 3, middleware func 4. Now, whenever this Express receives the request for get data, it will call this middleware function 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then respond. Now, let's try. Clicking on get data. Now see. Are you able to see it? Middleware function 1 is calling, 2 is calling, 3 is calling, 4 is calling. Okay. Okay. Understood the concept? Why we need it? Middleware function means it's a normal function. Will be called after receiving the request before sending the response. Why we need it? Why we need it? The reason is after receiving the request before sending the response, you wanted to modify or you wanted to get any values from the request or you wanted to modify anything in the response, you can do it. That means, in these middleware functions, you write certain common logic and use it. Understanding, you wanted to execute something after receiving request and sending the response. Now, these middleware functions will be called only for get data, only for get data. And automatically this request and response, we are getting parameters. You know what is request, you know what is response. What is this next? Next is referring to the next middleware function. That means what? Whenever we click on whenever we receive the request, first this function will be called. First this function will be called. Once that function is called, here next we are getting as a parameter. This is referring to the next middleware function. That means this middleware function, is calling the next middleware function. This one. This is calling the next middleware function. This is calling the next middleware function. Like that it is happening. See, in Olympic games, the torchbearer will pass that from one torchbearer to another torchbearer. It's like understanding what I'm saying. So, imagine I have ordered something in Amazon. I have sent the request. A person will be delivering that. That is the response. But in between, so many people will be part of it. Those are like middlewares. Now, whenever I send the request to Amazon, it passes to the seller first. Then seller to the courier guy to transport guy to another transport guy, another transport to another transport. Then passes to the courier. Between so many people are joining right. After sending the request and after getting the response. In that case, you'll be understanding better. Now, imagine whenever I say I ordered something, that item is in the Delhi seller. Now, Delhi seller will give it to Bombay seller. Delhi seller will be giving it to transporter. The transporter from Delhi give it to Bombay transporter. Bombay transporter will be giving it to Hyderabad transporter. Hyderabad transporter will give it to courier boy. Courier boy will give it to us. Now, Delhi transporter to Bombay transporter has to be passed, right? That passing is this next. That passing is this next. Next means now see, here we are calling middleware function 1. Once whatever you wanted to do in middleware function 1, everything is completed. Then here we are telling call the next middleware function, which is function 2. Once it is done, calling next middleware function, which is function 2. Now calling next middleware function, which is function 2. Calling next middleware function, which is the actual execution response. No. In that case, it maintains 1 and 4. Those two are not mentioned here. If you wanted to write everything in one middleware function, yes, can be done. I'm just showing you multiple also can be given. Without middleware function also you can write it. Right? But middleware function you can split multiple functionalities easily. You'll understand it. Right? By the time we finish the session, you'll be getting much more. Understanding the concept. Now what I will do, whenever we receive the request, first we are calling middleware function 1. Okay. Now what I will do in middleware function 1 which is calling, but I don't call this next. That means it will not go to second. Then it will not go to third. It will not go to fourth. It will not execute the response. So now if I send the request, we should not send the response because it stopped at middleware function 1. Now if I click on get data, we are not getting the response. So observe it. We have to get at least empty error, right? We are not getting the response because it stopped at middleware function 1. Stopped at middleware function 1. See here. Middleware function 1 is called. From function 1, it is not passing to function 2. Not passing to function. See, you take potato chips for example. You wanted to, now a company is making potato chips. So they wanted to create a lot. Yes, can you see me? Okay. Probably this recording you may find two recordings, part 1 and part 2. So as I'm saying that, just to give you an example, potato chips, if they wanted to make, first they collect the potatoes from the field. That's a separate department. From that process to cleaning department. Potato chips will not be fried just by taking from the farm and putting. Potatoes need to be washed. Then they will wash it. After washing, then it passes to the cutting department. Then frying department. Then packing department. Then sales department. Then distribution department. Like that it passes. So many involved in between. It's like that. If you wanted to involve so much or anything after receiving the request and before sending the response, we can use this middleware. That is the point. Okay, and those potatoes will be passed from one department to another department. Right? Exactly, the next function is useful to move from one middleware function to another middleware function. Now, once I send the request from the client for get data, it is receiving the request. It is calling the middleware function one. From middleware function one, it is not passing to middleware function two. It stopped there. So that's why we are not getting any response from the server to the client. If you get data, I'm not getting any response. But now, this next is referring to the next middleware, which is middleware function. Now, if I comment this, let us see what happens. If I click on sending the request, now see here, from after receiving the request, passes to middleware function 1 and middleware function 2. From 2 it is not passing to 3. The next is disabled. If I disable 3, it will not pass to 4. If I disable 4, it will not send the response. That's what middleware function concept is. Request and response will be getting it as a parameters. Next will be referring to next parameter. Understood? Okay. Now, I wanted to use this all 4 middlewares for each and every API endpoint. Each and every API endpoint. How do I do that? Now we have multiple API endpoints. We have 7 API endpoints. Countries list. Here also I have to paste that all 4. Department list I have to paste all 4. Likewise, get data all 4. Get data through param all 4. Get tender list. You get users from right. All for everything I have to give all 4. If you want anyone, you can use like that. That is one way, or the simplest way is, now if you want any middleware function, you wanted to call that middleware function for each and every API endpoint. We can do that. Now no need of writing like this, because we wanted to call this API middleware function for each and every endpoint. How do I do that? I will simply say app, which is our express app dot use. And I'll give middleware function. Middleware function 1. Function like that. Now this middleware function will be called for each and every API. Middleware, what is this? Now this middleware function will be called for each and every endpoint. Now see, I am just refreshing it. We have already sent the 3 requests, one for country, one for department, one for gender. Now if I see here, see, middleware function 1 is calling, middleware function 1 is calling. Understanding? It is calling for each and every request. Now if I say like this, function. Now for each and every API endpoint, the server receives. For everything, all this for will be called. Now I am sending. I am refreshing it again. One, two, three, four, 1, 2. For each and everything. Now if I call, if I click on this get data, for that also it will call. For that also it is called again. So now if you create a middleware function, you wanted to call that middleware function to any one of the API endpoints, you mention there. Or you wanted to use that middleware function for each and every API endpoint, use app.use and mention it. Understood? Clear? Concept wise. Now we are creating middleware functions and we are using it. Ready to use middleware functions are also. Ready to use middleware functions are also. One such example is CORS. What? CORS is actually a ready to use middleware. Now, if you see our code, long ago, we have written it. App.use CORS. CORS, that means now what we are doing, we are saying npm install CORS. That means we are installing the CORS package. And we are importing the CORS package. And that middleware, that is a functional, they are exporting function. That function we are calling like this. Now, CORS is a middleware function. For this CORS middleware function, 3 parameters will be there. Request will be there, response will be there, next will be there. What this CORS is doing, it is receiving the response as the parameter, right? In that response, it is adding extra element called allow access origin and sending it to the next thing. So we are getting the response with allow access origin. Got my point? Understanding what I am saying? See, now actually what is happening, whenever I send the request, middleware is receiving it. Our Node.js. There we are calling the CORS middleware function, ready to use. Now that a ready to use CORS function receives request response the next 3 parameters, and it is modifying the response by adding allow access origin, is adding extra. Then it is calling the next middleware if they are ready. Now it is sending the response and the client is accepting it. Understanding internally what is happening. How middlewares can be used. Understanding. This they are modifying in between. Middleware is sending the request. Client is sending the request. Middleware is sending the response through Express. Express is receiving the request and sending the response. But in between we have using CORS. CORS is correcting the security issue and sending it back. Understanding what I am saying? That's what is happening here. Likewise, there are so many ready-to-use middleware functions. There are so many ready-to-use middleware functions are there. One more is called Morgan. What? Morgan. Morgan is also a middleware function. So you can install it and use it. What exactly it does Morgan? We are receiving the request and sending the response through Express, right? This Morgan middleware functions will be called after receiving the request. Yes or no? what it is doing, it is collecting all the details of the request because it gets the request as a parameter, collects all the details of the request. That means from where the request came, from which system, what kind of request is that. All those details it stores it in a separate file if required. Got a point? Now I have uploaded this application into the server production. After 1 month, I wanted to see how many requests it has handled. If I open that Morgan file, I can see this date, this many requests, this date, this many requests, from this platform, this many requests, all the details. That's what actually Morgan middleware function is. Now, what I will do, I'll come to Express. Yes. Now here resources are able to see middleware. Expressjs.com, going to resources, clicking on middleware. See, there are so many middlewares are there. So many middlewares are there. Out of that, we are using this. Enables cross-origin insertion. There is one more is also there, Morgan. HTTP request logger. There is one more thing called Malta. We are going to work on this as so many are there. Now let us try to use this Morgan. I am clicking on this Morgan. Now if I wanted to use Morgan, I have to say install Morgan. Then I have to import it. Then I can use it. I have to specify Morgan. Middleware is nothing but a function. I have to specify key like that. Now, if you go through the documentation, you'll be understanding it. Now, what I will do, first of all, now we have created our own middleware functions and ready to use inbuilt functions. We have middleware functions. Now, I just wanted to comment our own middleware functions. So now I am just commenting it. No, I don't want it to call our own middleware function. That is not doing anything, just displaying the concept message. That's it. So now I don't want it to use this. Got a point? See, people use this middleware very effectively. You know, banking application you take, you will be performing transactions. Banking application. That means you are sending the request, you are getting the response. They will be creating a separate middleware function. For every request you send, it will authenticate it. You are a genuine user or not. For a genuine user or not, it will authenticate it. Like that, they will be creating. Because for every transaction, they wanted to use it. Like that, they will create a general function, authentication. That what is the purpose of that middleware function? Genuine request or not. If it is genuine request, it passes to the next. Otherwise, it will not say something is wrong. Please relog in the application like that. Like that. Okay. Now, right now we are not using any middlewares except the cross. Right. Now I wanted to add one more middleware. Now see, let's stop it. Let's say npm install Morgan. I'm installing the Morgan. This Morgan middleware function collects the requests and can be done with that request displaying in the console or display created in a separate file like that. So I installed it. After installing what I wanted to do, I said put Morgan to require Morgan. And what I will do, let's say app.use, let's say Morgan. Remember, if it is your custom middleware functions, no need to give this parenthesis. If it is a imported thing, you have to give parentheses. That you have. Now see what happens. Now Morgan, you can pass parameter. I'll say Tini. What? How do I know it is? I have to pass Tini according to the documentation. Now I can find it. Yes. Tini. Now what exactly it does? Now let us see. I'll say npm. So whenever our Node.js application receives the request, a console message will be displayed related to the details of the request. Now see here, I'm refreshing the application automatically. A request will be sent for countries list, departments list, genders list. And say refresh. Okay, we got the response, but you see here, are you able to see? Application receives the get request. What is the API endpoint? Countries list. 200. 200 means success. It's called the status of the request. It means success. How much time it took to respond? 19.036 milliseconds. Then departments list, then genders list, then countries list, department list, 5 cities list. Tini means little details of that request. Now, multiple values can be given if you go through the documentation. You can give something called predefined format, something called combined you can give, common you can give, dev you can give, short you can give, tini you can give. Tini we have tried. The minimal of it. Now we will try to give short, you will be getting a bit more details. Getting a bit more details. Now I say short. The Morgan is nothing but a middleware function calling after receiving the request. But now I have given short. This Morgan middleware function automatically receives the request, right? It collects all the requests and it is playing in the console. It is doing it automatically. Console log, they are writing internally for us. Now I will just refresh it again. Now let us see what happens. Let me clear it. And say refresh. Okay, otherwise I will simply click on get data. We got the response. Now see here, we are getting a bit more details than earlier. Get data, then country, then gender, then HTTP 200, all those details. Took 26.770. For your better understanding, I am giving tini, I am giving short, both I am giving. Then I wanted to give the remaining also. What are the options they have given? Tini, short, then dev, then common, combined. Then tini, short, then dev, common. Now for our better clarity, I am using just this hyphen. So we can get difference. Like that. Now see. I am clicking on this get data. I think they are not showing that hyphen. No, this is a combined showing full detail, date, month, year, hours, minutes, seconds, get. Combined means full details. Common means little less details. Short means little less more. Dev, then tiny, like that they are showing. Understand? Now I don't want it to show it in console because I cannot open the application and see in console. I wanted to store it in a file. Possible. You have to go through their documentation. How just come down. Write logs to file. Now, first of all, to store it into a file, we have to create a file. To create a file, you need a package called file system, which is part of Node.js. So they are importing that file system. Now we have to specify where the file should be created. We should specify the path. For that we need path module, which is part of Node.js. They are importing path module. And Morgan, we know it. Express, we already know it. Now what they are doing, first using file system, they are creating the file in the specified path. The name of the file is access.log. Right? Then they are mentioning the type they want, tiny or combined or dev or common, whatever it is. And they are specifying, create it in access log. Access log means referring to its log file. We will implement the same thing here. No need to think too much about it. Copy paste. Sir, no. Copy paste, you have to do it, but understanding is important. We are saving the typing time only. So, I am importing path and fs. We are importing those two. So I can create the file because we wanted to create the file, and path we can tell where to create the file. Then we are creating the file. Access log first got create write string. We are writing the file. Path dot join and underscore name. Underscore name is this directory. Wherever this directory is there, in this directory, create the file called access.log. And in app.use, we are saying Morgan combined. If you don't want the combined, you just give mini. And we are saying store into this file. Now I don't need Morgan. Now I don't need actually all these things. I will delete these things. But naturally, it may not work because after app creation only we have to use that. We are creating app in line number 14, then we are using line number 16. Everything is fine. Now let us see. By now already file should be created. Unable to see access.log. In this access.log, nothing is there because we haven't sent any request. Now what I will do? From here, I'll send a request. Now whenever I send the request, it passes to the Node.js. Express.js receives it. After receiving the request, middleware will be called. Morgan has a parameter for request. It collects all the information and stores it into access.log file, which you can find now. Now, whatever the request I sent, everything will be stored into this. Now, I am just refreshing it. Now, 3 requests will be sent. Already 1 it is stored, another 3 will be stored. Now, see here. Understanding? Now you can it is tracking each and everything what are the requests received from client to the server. Now after a week, after 1 month, you can go through it. Which request we are getting, when are we getting, which time we are getting. If you give combined or something, you can detect from Mac you are sending the request, from Linux you are sending the request, from Windows you are sending the request. Every detail. When they are doing all these things, after sending the request, before sending the response. You might have heard about it recently. I don't know whether it is Swiggy or Zomato. After picking from the hotel, before delivering to the customer, they are eating in between, and they again putting it and doing middle way. You wanted to do something in between after receiving the request and before sending the response. We can create our own, use the existing. We have done both. Got it? Get a bit idea at least. We are going to work on again in future, but still. We have a middleware called Malta. We are going to use a lot. Sources. Well, Smarter also we are going to use it. There are few more middlewares are there. We are going to use that. URL encoded. There is a middleware called URL encoded. Now, you say app.use express.url. This is a middleware inbuilt of Express. App.use express.json. One more is that I forgot it. These also we are going to use. Then there is one more called Malta. We will also use that. That we will be discussing a bit. Understood? Express middleware. Middleware is nothing but a function. Why it is called as middleware? Because it will be called between request and response. Got a point? Why it called as mediator in those two? It's a function which has three parameters: request, response, and next. Cars is doing changes in response. Morgan is collecting the information in request. Got a point? Cars is also middleware. It is dealing with the response because it is adding something extra in response. Morgan is not dealing with response. It is dealing with request, collecting all the information from where the request, all those things, and putting into a file. Got it? We just try it. In our next session, we will start working with post. Now we are done with get. Now from post. Now get means what? From client we are sending the request. We are collecting the response from collecting the data from the database, sending it to the client. But now we wanted to send the data from client to middleware. Middleware I have wanted to store it into database, like sign up form. That will be doing. Okay. Understanding or not understanding? Confusion. But again, practice you have to do it. More practice you do it, you'll understand what is. You are learning one of the most useful, most valuable concepts. You are learning most useful, most valuable concepts. You don't know what is your value is. You know, you can work on database, you can work on middleware, you can work on client. I'll be sharing you React Native sessions. You can work on iPhone, you can work on Android. You can do everything. The beauty part is everything is JavaScript. Everything is JavaScript. It's like ice cream of different flavors, right? It's like, earlier it was not possible. You are one of the very rare, very valuable resources. But you should be able to market it. That's it. You know, there is a person called Sundar. Sundar from my hometown. You know what is the specialty of this guy? He's so talented that he can run car with water. You know that he has built a system in such a way that he put water, car will run. That is the capacity of that guy. He's very good at it, but marketing is the problem. No, he felt very difficult to push that into the market. After creating such a excellent product, he is creating pamphlets. See, you know, you can run the car with water like. What a point. Now, after creation, he wants something new. What he has done, he has created an injection for car. Injection for car. What is that? It will be very thick. Tube will be there. You can inject to car some part of the machine. If you do that, your mileage will be increased a lot. Pollution will be less. Mileage will be increased. Now he is working on a generator, power generator, which can work on water. You know what is his idea? He wanted to put it for ships. Understanding what I'm saying? The whole ship will be in water only. You take 100 liters of water, put it into that. That's it. Never ending. Normally, how ships runs based on diesel. After some time, it has to reach the ports, then fill that the tank, the diesel, and go. Now the ship is in water. If it runs on water, water is the never ending. That is his capacity. But that such capacity needs marketing talent. If he is good at subject, he may not focus more on marketing. Got my point? Even though he is trying to do, world will not accept. Why? Government of India itself will not accept that to run cars on water. Why? How the government earns money? Do you think that petrol countries will keep quiet? Oh, nice innovation. But he's from my hometown. I have seen multiple times. What a point. So you are that type in the sense of the knowledge which you are gaining, the most valuable knowledge. Try to sell it. That selling, you practice it. by attending interviews. You leave it here first 15, 20 interviews. It's okay. But then you'll get it. Got a point? And don't neglect React Native. Don't neglect React Native. I'll be sharing those recordings.